Welcome into San Francisco Giants Access. My name is Sterling Bennett, and the MLB trade market is heating up. The Giants have their hands in potentially not just one, not just two, but three deals that could get done, maybe quickly, who knows? But we also know this. The pitching market is starting to dry up this off season. Guys are signing left and right, and the clock is ticking on the San Francisco Giants as they attempt to replenish their starting rotation during the off season period. Winter meetings are done, dead, and gone. Now we're entering into the post-winter meeting time of the offseason. And I want to start off by discussing the pitching market because, like I said, names are starting to fly off the board. Dylan Cease goes to the Toronto Blue Jays. Sonny Gray gets traded to the Red Sox. Cody Ponce goes to the Blue Jays, as well as Dylan Cease. Then Merrill Kelly, somebody who myself and I'm sure a lot of people in this Giants fan community thought would be an excellent signing for the San Francisco Giants, knowing how young their rotation is, but also them not really wanting to buy top-of-the-line 9-figure deals. He goes to the D-backs on a 2-year, $50 million contract. I think that's too expensive for a guy that's 37 years old. But with that said, with four of the top names off of the market, the Giants now pivot to the remaining crop of pitching talent. And while there are some high-end names like Framber Valdez, Tatsuya Imai, and others, a lot of those guys have maybe some nicks in the armor, if you will. Imai might go for 9 figures plus the posting fee, right? Valdez has the qualifying offer, and there are some character concerns, right, with the cross-up with the catcher last year in Houston. Ranger Suarez has the qualifying offer and has a lot of injury history under his belt, while Michael King is kind of in the middle of what is a now negotiation or kind of a bidding war between the AL East teams like the Red Sox, Orioles, and the Yankees. So the Giants, they want to kind of take the foot off the gas going for those guys, knowing the price and what surrounds them, leaving players like Nick Martinez, Chris Bassett. You heard Zach Gallen a lot already this offseason, Lucas Giolito, Tyler Mahle, and somebody I already believe will be a San Francisco Giant this year because of his ties to the manager, Tony Vitello. That is Max Scherzer. That said, when you kind of start checking off people, either they sign for somewhere else or they have things that maybe don't fit in what San Francisco is looking for, you go from, 20 guys to 6 or 7 guys. And when you start nitpicking that group, it really gets tough as to believe or kind of like or even really see the vision San Francisco has in place. Now, the Giants could easily pay up for Miami. I'll sit back and go, we were stressed for no reason. But I just have some questions. Like, you're sitting here on December 14th. You're 11 days from Christmas. I'd love an early Christmas present in a signing of one of these big name guys. But the Giants seem to believe in Ray and Webb at the top of their rotation and simply want to fortify the 3, 4, 5 spots. You like Rupp, you like Birdsong, but when you hear the names out there, Imai, Martinez, Bassett, Gallen, Valdez, Giolito, Suarez, King, Mahle, Scherzer, I'm not going to predict something, but obviously you want to go out there and pay big money for Imai. He wants to go against the Dodgers. It's like, ding, 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 you have the winner, Buster Posey and company. That's the guy you'd probably want to bring in for a lot of reasons. The competitive nature seems like it is unlike any other. And when you hear a guy say, I want to knock down the big dog, take down the big old Dodgers, usually it makes you hyped up. It makes you kind of, lean towards bringing that guy in. But again, there is some drawbacks, posting fees and whatnot. However, Nick Martinez really isn't a true starting pitcher. He's a spot starter guy or kind of a bottom of the rotation guy, but also a long reliever. Chris Bassett probably fits most into that Merrill Kelly kind of, later in their career, veteran guy, not going to be here for, 4 or 5 years. He'll be here for 1 or 2 seasons. A kind of a Band-Aid option, similar to that of Max Scherzer and probably a Tyler Mahle. And kind of the last big potential ace boomer bust pitcher really is Zach Gallen. There's no qualifying offer on him. Had a down season last year, and you may be able to have a guy that walks into San Francisco, whether it's a 1-for-1 or a 2-for-1, and kind of an early out in that deal, where take a step back. Zach Gallen might be the best option for the Giants on the market, besides those kind of bottom rotation dudes to help band-aid things, which that's not where I was entering into the offseason. But as you kind of see how things have, kind of played out, Zach Gallen might be the best guy out there for the Giants. Now that Kelly's gone and whatnot, and Imai seems unlikely, knowing the Giants not wanting to kind of dip their toes in the big pond to get some big fish, which I don't hate that. Don't love it. You want the Giants to be all in, but we do know the Giants are, at least, while not maybe wanting to dip their toes into the big spender pond of free agency, that doesn't mean you can't net a big fish, right? You can be a big fish in a big pond, or you can be a big fish in a medium-sized pond. And the Giants right now, according to Katie Wu and I'm forgetting who, I think it was Ken Rosenthal of The Athletic, that the Giants are interested in Milwaukee Brewers starting pitcher, their ace, Freddy Peralta, right-hander. He's in his late 20s, was a fifth in Cy Young voting last season for Milwaukee, finished last year with a 2.70 ERA in 176 and 2/3 innings, and had the eighth highest strikeout rate in baseball last year. Why wouldn't you want that guy? Well, that's the guy you're saying, yes, pound the table for, yes. He's also a player where the asking price might not be too high. You look at what the Brewers did, I guess now 2 off seasons ago, because we're this off season and last off season, with Corbin Burns, right? They traded him away for Joey Ortiz and a pitcher and DL Hall. Okay, well, the Giants in their farm system, that may be the equivalent to Casey Schmidt or a Gavin Kylan and a Carson Wisenhunt. Like, would Milwaukee be open to that? I know I would. Now, however, the Brewers don't have to deal him. And that's where things get complicated, right? There was a big price tag on Corbin Burns' contract. Peralta doesn't have that. It's $9 million for one more season. Then he'll be a free agent, I believe. And Milwaukee may sit back and say, you know what? We can give him the qualifying offer if he has a great year this upcoming year in 2026. Let him walk into free agency, get a high-end draft pick back, and think that's better compensation than what it is now. Or you can wait middle of the year, see where Milwaukee is, and if they're out of the playoff hunt, then you can deal them for a big asking price to a team that is more desperate for a starting pitcher. But Milwaukee doesn't have to deal him, which does, although the asking price not being very high, or at least it shouldn't be, it does likely mean it'll be higher than it was for Corbin Burns, knowing that he's cheap, albeit not controllable. A deal doesn't have to get done. Like, they don't have the next ace waiting in the wings unless Mizorowski takes a big jump this year, which he could, which again may lean towards Milwaukee keeping him, seeing how things go throughout the year, then dealing him or not dealing him at the deadline. That said, we don't know what the Giants care about, right? If they were in discussions or at least eyeing some veteran starting pitching that may be on a 1-year deal or a 2-year contract. And Kelly, Molly, Scherzer, I'm sure Bass is probably in that grouping as well. Maybe they don't care about the longevity or the length of the deals that the guys are currently on. I think San Francisco, and I said it plenty of times already on the podcast through the offseason, of I don't think they're going to be signing big name free agents. I think they are more leaning towards the idea that let's trade for guys under contract that signed deals a handful of years ago where the price tags are a little lower. Maybe they're a little more affordable, but can give us equivalent production of some of the guys out there that are getting paid big money now. Like, again, you can get guys around $25 million like Merrill Kelly that are 30, not 37. Guys that can give you 200 plus innings or around there and give you the 8th highest strikeout rate in baseball like Freddy Peralta can for under $10 million, which the Giants don't seem to be too worried about parting ways with prospects, right? Devers was a big deal. They got done. I don't think anybody's sitting back like, oh, James Tibbs III. Oh, man, a single-A prospect that'll probably never make the majors. Oh, man. Like, the Giants don't seem to be reluctant to part ways with guys like a Devers, like a Peralta. That said, the sticking point might be where his deal currently stands as to how long of control he has left, being 1 year. It's a 1 year rental at that point. Now, I think if you're going to make the Peralta deal, you would do it under the understanding that he's either open to, but more so, and hopefully this is the way, that he will sign an extension with you. But if I'm Freddy Peralta, and there is no Scott Boras involved, so don't worry about that in this case, but he's thinking, yeah, I can go to the Giants in a better pitcher ballpark, probably allow less runs, at least keep my same production level, and I'm going to be in for a deal at my age 30 season for, $200, $300 million. Like, Dylan Cease got that. Why couldn't Freddy Peralta get that, who I think has been a better pitcher than Dylan Cease the last couple of years? And so the Giants could make this deal, and Peralta may say, wow, I love being a Giant, but also I don't want to be here. Now, that said, there could be some pull knowing he is best friends or close friends with Willy Adames. And Adames could sell him on San Francisco, sell him on the vision the team has, and maybe things just gel. But it's certainly a risk to go and acquire a guy like Peralta, giving up prospects in return. And, maybe the Brewers drive a hard bargain and San Francisco is like, wait a minute, like we just can't do this. We can't give Milwaukee a MLB ready or, AAA ready starting pitcher. Wisenhunt is kind of there, but I'm not going to lie to you, I'm not too high on him. Maybe there were some bullpen arms like Will Bednar, first round draft pick, but even then it's like, I don't know. It does seem like they'd have to get rid of some of their middle infield talent, which the Brewers don't currently have a lot of right now in their farm systems ready to go. Maybe if you get a deal done, which someone else later will talk about in the show, maybe you get that deal done first, then trade away one of your middle infield, Fitzgerald or Casey Schmidt or somebody else in that group, and now get a deal done elsewhere too. So a lot on the table, obviously, of the available free agent starting pitchers. Peralta might be better than all of them. He's certainly more proven than all of them, especially Imai right now is never pitched in the major leagues. And will probably give you more value unless Gallen bounces back in a big way. But, not to get your hopes up, and my certainly are not high right now, knowing what's transpired thus far in free agency. Like, wouldn't you love to walk into the season with Webb as your ace, Peralta as your 2, Gallen as your 3, and Ray as your 4, and and Scherzer as your 5, and Rupp in there, and Birdsong in there? I mean, obviously you would, but I think a lot's on the table. I think San Francisco is eyeing, though, Gallen, Scherzer, and Peralta. And I think they're going to at least bring home one of those guys. I think the pretty obvious one is Scherzer. But if they can bring in Scherzer and Gallen, Scherzer or Peralta, I think they'll be in a pretty good spot rotation-wise. Obviously, Scherzer was hurt almost all last year for Toronto, so you may want to get somebody else, or maybe you're banking on Rupp and Birdsong to bounce back or continue their success in 2026. But I think they're going to get home and bring in and sign in one of those guys, whether it is Gallen, Scherzer, or acquire Peralta. And fingers crossed, maybe it's 2 of them, but one of them I think is guaranteed, unless I'm crazy and nuts and wrong, which if I am, tell me down below in the comments, who or which starting pitcher do you want San Francisco to acquire? Do you think the clock is ticking, a deal must get done soon, or the Giants might get left behind? That said, the bullpen arms are flying off the shelf like, I don't know, Roblox or Labubu's during the summertime in a couple of months ago. Devin Williams to the Mets, Kelly Jansen, or Kenley Jansen, excuse me. My God, not Kelly, Kenley to the Tigers. Robert Suarez to the Braves, Iglesias back to Atlanta, Alexis Diaz to the Rangers, Edwin Diaz's brother to the Dodgers, Ryan Helsley to the Orioles, Tyler Rogers, who I would love to have back in San Francisco. He goes to the Blue Jays, who are signing everybody right now. Kyle Finnegan goes back to Detroit, and then, of course, Emilio Pagan goes to the Reds. There really ain't the guy out there. The Giants probably are not going to go out there and pay for a high-end arm. And quite frankly, a lot of the high-end arms are not on the market anymore. Now, I don't believe you have to pay a lot of money for a bullpen. Sometimes it's better to build within. And I think you will see San Francisco rely on guys, like Ryan Walker, who I know a lot of the fans just think he was overworked last season. I would agree that if you can get a more manageable usage of Ryan Walker, the better he'll be. Shocking, right? But yeah, Buto. Hopefully Eric Miller comes back. Not really sure where Randy Rodriguez and his recovery stands. I'm sure it'll be a long time till we see him again, unfortunately. But you can still find arms out there. Pierce Johnson, who was in San Francisco for a year or two, made his name known with the Braves and the Padres. Last couple of seasons, he's out there. I'd love to bring him back for a couple of years. Peter Fairbanks is probably the big name on the market still. And him and Luke Weaver, probably the two biggest ones out there. But now I'd love to get both those guys into San Francisco. Why would you not? I think Weaver said he's open to starting again this season. So maybe you do lengthen him out somewhat, although maybe Jordan Hicks's tenure kind of muddies those waters a little bit. But there's options. Josh Jabours, Hunter Harvey, Gregory Santos, who was in San Francisco in his first, season at the MLB level. Then Sean Armstrong as well. So there's plenty of arms out there, but there's like the big dog, the closer, the shutdown guy doesn't really exist. And I think that's not necessarily by design, but if you look at how Posey, when he was catching in San Francisco, the Giants had 3 different closers during their 3 different World Series championships. And really, you can argue Bumgarner was the closer in the playoff run anyways in 2014, or at least in that World Series he was. And I think, you can find bullpen arms everywhere. You can find them in single A, double A, triple A, on the MLB rosters as castaways on waivers. You can find arms all over the place, right? Like trading away, relief pitching is always a good thing because you can always find more. It's a plenty. It's always going to be restocked. It's always going to be on sale. People are always willing and dealing guys in the bullpen. And so I'm not too, the Dodgers got Diaz and okay. Like I am more stressed about who's starting than who's relieving. And the Giants had kind of a makeshift bullpen a lot of the times during their success runs. Now, obviously, things have changed. You want to have that dominant guy at the back end. Chapman, saw it happen in the World Series with Hoffman. He's kind of a B tier closer, and that kind of showed itself in the World Series. And so for San Francisco, while maybe maybe Ryan Walker is the closer, which I wouldn't hate that, but I wouldn't love it. But if you surround him in a bullpen with Peter Fairbanks and Hunter Harvey and a Gregory Santos and more reliable arms than you currently have now with guys that are already there in the pen, the Giants don't need to go out and spend big money on the bullpen. Nobody really ever does. And when you do, sometimes it pays off. It really can. But sometimes, like last year for the Dodgers, it backfires big time and you're having to go out there and move your Japanese phenom and Sasaki to the bullpen, help salvage things, and pitch your other Japanese phenom, Yamamoto, 3 times in the World Series to win those games, including a lot of extra inning time in Game 7. So it's just, I'm not stressed, but you're waiting for the moves. I'd bring back Joey Lucchesi. You love Sam Hentges, but I'd bring back Lucchesi in a heartbeat. And I think you want to see San Francisco at least starting to build out the roster, but knowing their 40-man roster, I believe, has 1 open spot, I think they're kind of waiting for trades to get done before they start making moves, because if you sign 2 or 3 guys and they're on the 40-man roster, then you got to start moving guys around again and trading dudes away. So I wouldn't be shocked to see San Francisco kind of not take a back seat, but willingly remove themselves from the free agent market to begin the offseason as they try to work trades out with other teams, right? You saw, they've already do it a couple times this offseason with Joey Weimer from the Marlins. Now he's in San Francisco, and they've moved some other guys around too. But I think San Francisco, Buster Posey, they willingly remove themselves from the free agency market, saying, look, we know we're not going to be big spenders. Let those guys sign, and we're going to go out there and make some trades. And I think that's what's kind of holding things up for San Francisco. They're trying to get deals with Peralta done, or at least, enter negotiations for him. And we have now learned that they are also a front runner for Cardinals second baseman Brendan Donovan. And this is a move I think almost every fan base, but I know as a Giants fan, I had been talking about for years. the Cardinals have been caught in between of contending and rebuilding, and Donovan's like that one at the time younger trade chip. I'm like, oh, I'd love to get him in San Francisco in the orange and black playing second base. And a couple of years has gone by since then, but now Donovan, he's an all-star. He's a heck of a player, probably reaching his career highs right now and reaching his peak, his prime, if you will. And it's probably the best time now to acquire him, knowing that's the case and knowing your window's open now. And it's no shock that the Giants and the Mariners, funny enough, are the two front runners for Donovan. Now, I know a lot of you out there may say, well, I want to see Casey Schmidt play second base. And I don't hate that idea, but I think you are seeing, like, there's a big gap in between what Casey Schmidt is, what he could be, and what Donovan currently is and what he could be. Last year, 2025, Donovan was 28 years old. His slash line was 287 with a 353, then a 775 OPS. So, or OBP, excuse me. It's just like, come on. Like, when that's your slash line, 287, 353, and a 775, that would have been either first or second on the Giants roster in every single category. Hit a 119 OPS plus. That would have been third on San Francisco. He hit 32 doubles last year for the Cardinals. That would have led the Giants offense. And I think more importantly here, while there isn't much power, 10 home runs, 50 RBIs, 51% of his hits last season were up the middle. And then like 25% were pulled, and he's a left-handed hitter, so right field. If you are just punching the ball to center and right in the gaps and in towards McCovey Cove, you are going to eat up Triples Alley consistently. Like, and that is a thing the Giants need. Consistent contact and a gap hitter to get guys in scoring position, to have the bases kind of loaded, or, at least with guys on base in scoring position for Devers and Adames and Chapman and other guys they have, and Eldridge, maybe guys like that, where it's like, we need tone setting bats to have guys and bring them home and score some more runs. So he has 2 more years of arbitration. He's a controllable piece. And the question then becomes, well, what's the asking price? What do the Cardinals want for a player like Brendan Donovan? And according to Katie Woo, the Giants have discussed dealing left-handed pitcher Carson Whisenhunt, which I would do easily, and first-round pick in 2025's MLB draft, Gavin Kylan. And I know that's a Vitello guy with Tennessee, and maybe he has a say in things, but you have a guy that probably isn't projected to be at the MLB level until 2028, maybe 29, unless he's a fast riser. Who knows? Things can change really fast in baseball in the minors. But Whisenhunt to me is like, yeah, whatever, like, go. I'm not blown away by him, although he is some valuable depth, but you can find arms everywhere. But I would do this deal in a heartbeat. Like, I would trade away Kylan, Whisenhunt, and I would walk Tyler Fitzgerald over there and say, you want him too? But I also be more aggressive. Like, you want the Giants and Posey, which they've shown the desire to be more aggressive. Why not, while you're in talks for Donovan, say, hey, what do you want for Joe Romero, a guy who's closed some games out for the Cardinals in recent years, left-hander? If you're going to lose Lucchesi and Miller's injury is a question for you, or at least his history is, and you really don't know what Sam Hentges will be because he has a lot of injury history, why not call and say, hey, Donovan deal, we'll get that done, but what do you want for Romero too? Let's do a package deal and get a dominant left-handed inning guy in our bullpen on top of getting a starting second baseman for years to come. Last year for the Cardinals, Romero had a 2.07 ERA in 67 appearances or 64 appearances. Like, get aggressive. The Yankees want him. You go out and get him. If you're going to be complacent in the free agency market, then be aggressive on trades. And I know Romero only has 1 more year of control left, and that may make the Giants hesitant, but it's like, you can re-sign bullpen arms pretty easily. It's all really about how much money you want to spend on those guys. And while now they may be reluctant, he's a guy I'd give a 2 or 3 year deal to, knowing the success, and he's been getting better year by year. And you get him in San Francisco, a better ballpark to pitch in. It makes a lot of sense. And you know, maybe I'm more willing to deal prospects knowing that they're probably not gonna contribute to this current window. They might, but maybe outside of Eldridge, that's kind of the one guy that's like ready to go, or at least you believe is ready to go. But Kylan, no. Hunt, if he contributes, it won't be that much. Like you're not banking on him being an arm for you, or at least you're hoping he won't be, because you want to have free agents and some other guys, Rep Birdsong, take big leaps in what is their year 2 or 3 for them at the bigs, and getting Donovan for sure. But it's like sweeten that pot. Go. The Cardinals want to trade guys away. They'll deal guys away, and so I would give up Kylan and Hunt and I don't know, somebody else, toss in a prospect. I don't care. As long as he doesn't want to book one of your top guys, I would do it in a heartbeat. I'd do it in a heartbeat. I know there are some fans that say no, and they're like, what is the gap between Schmidt and Donovan? It's pretty high. Donovan's 28, going into his age 29 season. This is his ceiling. And if in 2 years' time, you're in the middle of 2027 and he's not playing well, or he's playing good and the Giants aren't playing well for whatever reason, you can trade him then. You can get guys back. It's not like you're dead in the water. So this is a deal I do in a heartbeat. He's a contact hitter. He eats the gaps up. He hit 32 doubles last year. He'll probably hit 40 in San Francisco. Do this deal now. I don't care about Gavin Kylan and Carson Wisnot. Do it now. Drive those guys to St. Louis now. Do this deal in a heartbeat. But we also know the Giants are shooting for something higher. They have some pretty high aspirations, which I love. Why not make calls? It's what led to Devers, being acquired during May of last year. The Giants apparently are in talks to acquire Diamondbacks second baseman Ketel Marte. Now, I won't get too deep into this because I don't think it's likely, because there's some pretty easy ways to kind of deflate the balloon of hope, if you will, of this one. The first one being, would the Diamondbacks trade away a controllable, elite, if not the best second baseman in baseball, Ketel Marte, to a team in the division that feels like bad business, that feels like something that gets GMs and presidents of baseball operations fired? It feels like that's a deal that makes the manager mad, and you have to play the guy, a ton during the year. And the last thing you want is the guy who you're paying almost nothing, he's really cheap, to then be a Diamondback killer for a long time, right? Most teams don't do big trades in the division for a lot of reasons, unless they're rentals. Marte is no rental. That's a big issue. And on top of that, would the Diamondbacks do a trade in the division for the best second baseman in baseball without wanting Bryce Eldridge in return, or the Giants top 3 prospects? Like, that's a reasonable asking price, or at least could be. And I don't think they would. They're going to ask for everything, as they should. They don't have to deal Marte. They don't need to trade Marte. If they're going to deal Marte, wow us, blow us out of the water. And I don't think the Giants, even if they weren't in the division, have a deal that could blow the D-backs out of the water. But you add in the factor of we're going to play each other every single year, a ton of times in the NL West. It's like, well, probably don't do that deal. And on top of that, like, would the Giants want to trade Bryce Eldridge in the division? Posey, who's probably hyping him up, maybe to be in trade talks, I don't know. He was saying Eldridge, has like a generational bat. Why would you trade that guy to one of your rivals? That doesn't make sense. Like, the Padres have gotten worse. The D-backs, albeit they bring back Kelly, there's a real chance they can get worse. Why would you then give them a way to get better on purpose? I don't think the D-backs would do this. I don't think the Giants would do this. This seems more like the Giants called to see what the asking price was. But they knew that there's going to be a hard bargain driven. And like any good GM does, any good front office does, you make the call just to inquire. Why wouldn't you inquire, right? If you're at a job and you're making, $40,000 a year, wouldn't you inquire about making 60, 80, 100? You always do, right? So the Giants, I'm sure, said, "Hey, what's the asking price? Where are things at?" And I'm sure that got leaked out to the media of like, the Giants called, these teams are calling, let's get a deal done, because the D-backs are like, "Look, we're talking. Send your offers in now. Let's see what we can do, and then let's make a deal, or don't make a deal at all." I don't think Marte gets dealt unless the Mariners part ways with some of their top pitching prospects, or Jeff McNeil and the Mets are done, and they will give McNeil and, Jonah Tong or some of their big prospects, Ryan Clifford, on top of some pitching prospects to the D-backs, which that can make sense. But knowing the Mets are going to play Jorge Polanco at first base this year, which is weird, which on top of that, funny enough, because his only game at first base was against the Giants at Oracle Park this season, I believe. So maybe the Mets are a destination for Marte, but I don't think the Giants are. The Giants make a lot more sense for Peralta and especially Brendan Donovan. But tell me down below in the comments, who do you think San Francisco needs to be aggressive in trying to acquire? Are you saying push the chips in, go get Freddy Peralta, go get Brendan Donovan, or are you hesitant to go get guys like Peralta, knowing it's a one-year deal and he may not come back after the 2026 season? Drop those comments down below. And on top of that, tell me, is the clock ticking for the Giants to make a deal? It is 1 p.m., 12/14 in 2025, December 14th, 2025, 1 p.m. And the Giants have made one free agent signing, and they have traded for Daniel Susac, a backup catcher and one of the A's former first-round draft picks. That's all they've done. Do they need to make some more moves? Doesn't really, I don't know. I would like something to get done, but drop those comments on the YouTube chat. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And this has been the San Francisco Giants Access Podcast. Leave us that 5-star review. And enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the week. And until next time, get out of here. See ya. Bye. Sayonara. See you later. Adios.